Record on this computer. So, good afternoon, all of you. Welcome to one more presentation and lecture regarding soft research and digital skills. I hope that you have joined the session on Monday with Elena Mizrahi from Israel. If not, I'm waiting for Elena to send me the recording. Today, it's a great pleasure to have with us the personnel from EVM, which is a part of the Acme project, Agile Methodologies in Education. And it's a great pleasure to have with us Ms. Clementina Binzon and Yolanda Fernandez, that they are going to discuss with us the next 90 minutes. Hopefully, we don't have any power cut. The emotional management. So the floor is yours, Clementina. And Yolanda, thank you very much on behalf of the Acme project. Actually, you are the coordinator. You should thank us, but I'm doing the opposite. Please start your presentation. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Costas, for the introduction, and hello, everyone. Welcome. This is the third webinar of the Acme project. And first of all, as mentioned by Costas from EVM, there's two of us. It's myself, Clementina Pinzon, and Yolanda here with me.
Hello, everyone.
So what we will first do is explain to you a little bit of what is the Acme project, how it came to happen, what we intend on doing, and then we will proceed with the emotional management webinar that you were expecting. So let's start with it.
Hello, everyone. So as Costas and Clementina say, my name is Yolanda. I'm going to briefly introduce you the Acme project. So Acme was, let's say, was built, it was a project that was born during the pandemic situation, where we had the opportunity to be involved in the online teaching webinar that was something created by Costas, present here today. So what we see that we identified a need, a struggle amongst the academic community, and we needed an efficient and an immediate response to the challenges that were being posed by the COVID-19 pandemic to students, academic teachers, and the universities. So what was the online teaching webinar? So online teaching webinar was a 3-day webinar on the 27th April, 4th May, and 7th May 2020. It was that was 2-hour-long sessions, and there were like 15 different webinars with different experts and specialists in very different topics, such as technology, pedagogy, emotional support. We had 1,650 registration. And nowadays on Facebook, there are more than 6,000 views, and on YouTube, there are more than 10,000 views nowadays. Yes, Costa, you rock. It was a great initiative, and people really appreciated that webinars that we held together with many other universities, of course, and led by Costas. Okay. Next. Okay. And so before, when we started ¿Lo pasas tú? Yo no estoy compartiendo, ¿no? We're trying to figure out how to. Sorry. Okay, so just for you to have a little bit more of information about the webinar, 93% of the people that registered to that webinar were teachers, and the rest of them were students and administrative people from the universities and so on. And then when we also asked them, like, what do you expect from, next one? What do you expect from the webinar? So most of the teachers, they were expecting to get new ideas and methodologies for online education, and also to learn new tools, learn about new tools on the online environment, just to lead their classes. And of course, improve their skills, develop new skills, be more resourceful, and then gain a little bit more of confidence on online teaching. But mainly was to learn new tools and then get new ideas by sharing all together. Okay. And then when we asked the teachers, what is your experience on online teaching? Most of them were saying like they were a beginner and they were trying their best. And then there were also most of them that never taught online before COVID, and a very little percentage of those teachers were experts, and 6% will say they just had no idea at all. And then when we asked them what were their struggles, it was mainly the interaction with the students, because as we know, the interaction, the human interaction with the students and between students and teachers is very important also for the communication means and just to do well when studying. And also the exams, how to evaluate students was also one of the main concerns and struggles. And after collecting all this information right after the online teaching webinar, so we decided that we could do more. That's why together with Costas from HMU, our colleagues from Uninetune, our colleagues from Alcor University, and our colleagues from Buckinghamshire University, we decided to create a project together to help people to adapt, not just to adapt, but to create new programs and new methodologies and new learning experiences that were created from scratch for the online environment, not just adapted, but just created from scratch for the online environment. So we started by doing an internal process at DBM where we did a process of design thinking, like brainstorming ideas. And this was a little bit the outcome of that design and thinking and brainstorming session that was led by one of our colleagues, Loren, which Costas knows very well. And well, after all of that, we submitted a proposal to the European Union, to the Erasmus Plus program. And well, Acme was financed. And so just for you to know a little bit more about Acme, I'm going to talk about the description. So Acme comes together as a partnership of 4 higher education institutions and 1 enterprise, EBM, from 5 different European countries. And we want to deliver innovative solutions. And we want to do a specific research that was carried institutionally and globally, so we can address the needs presented to educators and learners. And we want also to help those people with their needs, but also basing our products in agile methodologies. Okay, then what are Acme goals? So the first goal is to create a specific methodology that was built to be virtual, but instead of just adapting the methodologies, we want to create a whole new online methodology for trainers and students. Then we want to also do a training of trainers activity to improve the digital literacy and equip educators with the tools that they need to thrive in the online environment. And Acme also aims to promote excellence in teaching and skill development, and it will tackle the skill gaps and mismatch by providing innovative practices in a digital era. And then the consortium, as I said, that's 5 countries: Spain, Greece, Denmark, Italy, and the United Kingdom. So EBM, HMU, Aalborg, Uninetune, and Bucks University. And then what are the expected results? The first one will be the methodology and the teaching guide. As I said, we want to build a whole new methodology for teachers and students just to know how to learn and teach in the online environment. Then we also created a digital training toolbox for online education that includes original materials that you will find also. You will see a sneak peek here in this session about one of the modules we have created. And also we will build a platform, kind of Moodle, but based on agile methodologies, so students can own, let's say, their learning experience. And then we will have the Acme evaluation tools and pilot testing, which HMU will be leading. And well, these are the expected results. And this is just for you. This is a QR code just in case you want to receive more information about the Acme project. We can be sending you newsletters and updates. Of course, you won't be receiving any other information, any other advertisement. This is just for the Acme project. For example, when we release the platform, if you want to access the platform, so you will receive just a notification like the platform has been updated or the platform has been launched. So thank you very much for your attention. And now I will give the floor to my colleague, Clementina.
Well, thank you, Yolanda. As she mentioned here, when you sign up for these Acme notifications, you will also receive the information on these follow-up webinars. So we highly encourage you to join our network and stay tuned in what we will continue posting. So to continue in the lecture, what we all came here today, we're discussing today the emotional management. In order to do this accordingly, we will discuss the certain topics about the definition and dimensions of emotions, the 4 components that it has, what are some of the primary emotions, their families, the functions, and afterwards, the relationship between emotional intelligence and personal and work life that of course we all care about. And afterwards, we will focus in what is emotion management itself, what is it used for, and the benefits and consequences of good emotion management and poor emotion management. To end this session, we will finish with some practical tips on how to improve emotional intelligence. And we will highly encourage you as well to keep this session as interactive as possible, because we both consider that you can give to this session as much as we can give to you. This is colloquial talks, so you're very welcome to interrupt anytime you have any questions or comments. Let's have this session for ourselves. So the first activity would be the tool we recently used in one of the webinars. It's a Menti. I would kindly ask for you to scan this QR. It would lead you to the Menti, in which one question will be shown. The question would be, if you were to explain to an alien, to this object from the outer space that does not know anything from the human beings, it doesn't know our traditions, our costumes, or what we like to do. So we have to explain to them what an emotion is. So let's all participate and let's see what it comes from it. What do you think an emotion is? Okay, I see. There's still no one joining. Are you having problems with the connection?
Actually, could you share the link on the chat for the Mentimeter?
Of course. Yes, I think it's easier. Thank you. Okay, in the chat you have it. We have one answer. So emotions, about feelings. Feelings, attitude. Okay, but we're talking to an alien. An alien most likely doesn't know what a feeling is, but an attitude. Okay, physical and psychological response to a situation, feeling or memory. Then we have reactions, thoughts, feelings. Very good. Body language. Okay, let's give 20 seconds. No? Oh. Ahora sí? Okay, I think now you can see my screen correctly. Good. So emotion is also a way of thinking. 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, so we have our answers. Do you agree with this? I suppose to. Okay, we will see the definition. No me deja cambiar. The definition of emotions according to. Okay, now yes. See? Okay, so here we have it. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, an emotion would be described as an agitation or disturbance of the mind, feeling, passion, in any vehement or agitated state of mind. So what you responded is actually pretty close to what the definition of emotion would be. It's a feeling, it involves body language, if it involves an attitude, it involves many different things. As you can see, an emotion would be a complex psychological state that involves three distinct components that are the ones showcased in this slide. You can see here we have a subjective experience, we have psychological, physiological, response, and then a behavioral or expressive response. It would be, this whole emotion would be a process that is activated when the organism detects some danger, a threat, or an imbalance in order to set in motion the resources that we have at our disposal to control the situations. So one emotion can have many things happening at the same time and in many different dimensions. They exist as subjective, biological, and intentional social phenomena. Perfect. So what happens? When an emotion, we can recognize responses that mobilize the body's energy to adapt to any situations. That would be the physiological response we're talking to. They are the intentional agents, since many of the emotions have a purpose. They exist because of something. They are a social phenomena, since when an emotional state is experienced, we can see some recognizable facial, postural, and vocal signs that are sent that communicate to others the quality and the intensity of our emotion. You said it in your answers. You have the body language, you have verbal language in which you express what you're feeling, what you're perceiving from the inside, and what you're responding with your body. We can say that emotions are inherent to human beings. They're classified normally into positive or negative according to the contribution they have into our well-being or discomfort. We can have happy emotions, and they do as well. So it's a good emotion, let's say. And then when we feel sad, as we normally feel a little bit down, it's considered to be a negative emotion. Despite this classification, there are no good or bad emotions really, because all of them have an adaptive character. Therefore, they fulfill important functions for us in life. As you may see these icons here, it's from the movie Inside Out. I imagine you might have seen them. If not, you should, because it shows how each emotion has a role in our, let's say, order of being, in our way of seeing things, in our way of thinking and having perspective. And they're not good nor bad, but they just have their own functions. They're mechanisms that help us to react quickly to unexpected events that function automatically. So remember, there are no good or bad emotions. All of them have an adaptive character and therefore fulfill important functions for life. To continue, the emotions, it's important to be aware that we cannot disconnect or avoid any emotions. To say, I will not be sad because of anything. I will not be angry because they're considered negative emotions. It's not viable to think that way, but we can learn to manage our emotional states, because the individual's experience of each emotion we have is subjective and will be determined by previous experiences. Depending on how we learn to manage these emotions, we will be able to react differently in different situations. So learning and the specific situation in which a particular emotion is experienced can be different from one another. So this would be the first part of our lecture, and to continue with emotions, we will continue with the next activity. My question would be if you are able to recognize an emotion. For this, we will practice. This is I have seen this exercise many times. Let's say I will send in the chat the link. When applying to jobs nowadays, this kind of quiz is one of the tips, not the tips, but the questions they ask. Emotional intelligence is very important in every aspect of our lives, as you already may know. It's important in work life to recognize emotions. So let's see if you, how did you do with this? Okay. Are you able to see my screen? Okay, we have people already playing here, recognizing the emotions and the images. George's Mesa is doing really good. Okay. George's is in the first spot, followed by Lowe's and then Farah. Please, don't know. Okay, I see you're all playing. We have one person finished already with all the 6 emotions chosen correctly. Okay, Yolanda just joined. Emleth is joined as well as Sam. Let's see if we can get you all playing here with the emotions to see if you recognize them. ¿Sí se ve mi pantalla? Sí. Okay. For the ones who have finished already, if you move to the Zoom screen, you will see my sharing. So the first emotion for the ones who guessed it correctly would be confusion. For the second one, this would be anger. This guy here is clearly showing signs of anger with a creased forehead and the squinted eyes. And the third one, this one was a little bit difficult between surprise, fear, and disgust. But at the end is the fear emotion. Do you agree with that? If someone wants to comment, it's very welcome. Okay, the fourth emotion, in here we see a guy is hiding behind his jacket. The emotion shown behind this is the shame emotion. And the fifth one, the girl is showing love. It can be confused sometimes with happiness. They can be hand by hand anyhow. And the last one would be excitement. Okay. So, yeah.
Who won?
Very good. Now we have the presentation again. So since you are indeed able to recognize the emotions, congratulations. As I was saying before, it's curious that many big corporates are including these kind of tests in their recruitment assessment test directed to assessing and to measuring the soft skills of the candidates. And one of the most common games would be one of these, among others. You can hear also sounds of what an emotion would look like. And this proves that maybe when we think of soft skills or when we think of emotions, it's kind of overlooked sometimes, but it can also affect in the way you realize your work, in the way you treat people the other way. So it's also important, not just for us into interpersonal skills, but also in work-related situations. Okay. To move forward, we will look into the dimensions of the emotions. Usually every emotion has 4 dimensions that interact with each other, and each one of them have their own objectives and goals. As we can see here, we have the feelings, body stimulation, the social expressive, and the sense of intent. To get to know these dimensions better, we could say that as for the feelings, it would be the sentimental component. It is in charge of providing the subjective experience, the one that changes from person to person. When speaking of sentimental component, we speak of the intensity and the quality of the emotion. It is necessarily to do so in subjective terms, since this is how an emotion is felt and experienced from one person to another, so it changes. And this proves that the sentiment component is linked to cognitive processes and how we receive sting and stimuli and how we do this cognitive process. Then with the body stimulation component, this involves the neural and physiological activity, including the activity of autonomic and hormonal systems, preparing and regulating adaptive coping behavior. So the body prepares for action, both the brain and the musculature levels. When we are afraid and with this will be the body stimulation component. If we get angry and we crunch our fist like this would be this component, as well as the social expressive component, that this would be the communicative aspect of emotion. These are postures, gestures, vocalizations, and these facial expressions that we just practiced before. This is what makes the private experiences and processes public and not noticeable to the rest of the people. Nonverbal communication is usually used to express how we feel and how we are interpreting a given situation. And finally, then we have the intent component, the intentional aspect, and this is explains why people want to do what they do and why we benefit from our emotions as well. Emotions, as we said before, are there for a reason. If they're bad, if they're good, they have a function, they fulfill something. And a person without emotions would be at a social and evolutionary disadvantage. We're losing something if we don't have these emotions. So now that we have these, what an emotion is and what the different dimensions that interact to create emotions, we will take a look at the different types of emotions. So Paul Ekman in 1972, first of this, defined 6 basic emotions after conducting a series of experiments in which people from different cultures and different backgrounds around the world recognized 4 technically perfect facial expressions. So the exercise we did before was conducted in some other ways and some other processes to identify the distinctive aspects from different facial expressions and to classify them into different types. And 4 were clearly defined. Then, according to this author, 6 of these were the defined ones. As we saw before, the ones from the movie Inside Out, we have rage, we have nerves or fear, we have disgust. The one in yellow, do you know the one in yellow, someone?
Happy.
Good.
Happy.
The happy. And the one in blue?
Angry. No.
Fear.
Fear.
Or sadness. It can also be.
Sadness. I think it's sadness because you can see from the way of the lips. So there are some from the body language, you can see that the lips are going down instead compared to what, the happiness is like up. And this is sadness, sadness, because you can see from the way that the lips are directed.
Exactly.
When you are feeling fear, you have an open mouth, and your eyes, inside of your eyes, it's going on a distance from the event. It's going away. So yes.
Thank you. Very good. It's true. Both the mouth and the eyebrows are really some useful fragments of our face that help us to identify the emotions. So this would be the classical 5, let's say. And then the 6th one, which one would you say it was? This girl with her hands like this, what emotion would be?
It's like, she does not want to speak. So, I would say it is like she's, how can we say in English? Same. Yes, I will say same.
Okay. Shame is a good one. This was hard to surprise. Thank you, George.
I think surprise is like with this. Oh my God! You open your mouth here. See, over there, you can see she's hiding her mouth. So you are hiding when you are.
Yes.
in order not to teach.
Yeah,
To
yeah. And you are protecting. I mean, this is also from the presentation skills. You know, you can see that they have this desk in all presentation, in all the lecture rooms, in order to make the people that they are feeling not same shy to speak, to feel more protected. So the way that you are placing your hands over there in front of your mouth or stuff like this, I think it's more indication of shyness than to what did you say? Surprise. Surprise is like, I think that you are doing this. Oh my God! And you're it's something else. You are not here. You are not. Sometimes I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Manolis, would you like to say something?
I would like to say she's shocked because maybe she shows something that that and and that's why she covered her mouth because maybe she shocked.
Okay,
I
thank
agree
you.
with Manolis now. I'm changing my mind. I agree with Manolis.
Well, both answers could be pretty fine. Actually, it's difficult to recognize emotions from these icons. But the emotion that was defined by these authors, Ekman and Davidson, was surprise. And they also defined that the basics emotions would be, as we said, anger, fear, disgust, joy or happiness, sadness, and surprise. But despite this classification in 6 groups, we must think of emotions as families or dimensions because we know that there exist many more emotions other than these 6. So what happens? We basically group all these emotions and classify them in these families that this author classified as basic. But how do we say an emotion is basic? These authors also established some requirements for an emotion to be considered as so. These requirements would be that for an emotion to be considered as basic, they should be innate rather than acquired or learned through experience or socialization. So they should be inside each person with no regards to their cultural and education background. The second one would be that they arise from the same circumstances from all the individuals. So when we all see a scary movie, we all get scared. It doesn't depend, maybe if Costas gets happy from a scary movie, it would be kind of like an exception because the most appropriate reaction and emotion would be the fear one. The third one would be that they express themselves, these emotions, in unique and distinctive ways, in universal facial expressions. This is what we have been saying. We can all recognize how an emotion differs from another because they have facial expressions that are pretty distinctive. They are unique. And the fourth one is that these emotions evoke a distinctive physiological response that is easy to predict. So they are innate, not learned. They arise from the same circumstances from all individuals. They express in unique and distinctive ways, and they have a distinctive physiological response that is easy to read and to predict. These are the ones that would be to say that an emotion is basic. And we would have these 6 basic emotions. Okay, now that we know the requirements, we can classify the emotions and here we have the requirements for them to be basic. Since we went through this already, we will move into this Miro board in which we will have an activity. This session will consist, as you can see here, we have 7 groups, one blue, purple, another kind of purple, in which we have all of the groups of emotions, the 7 ones we mentioned before. We have 7 because these are from different authors. As you can see in psychology, we have different authors all the time, depending on the school and the perspective on the topic. We will try to, in these 7 groups, try to classify these emotions we have here in the post-its and put them into each let's say, chart. So we will start, let's say, the most clear. Let's start with anger. So if we define anger, it would be the rage and that appears when things do not work out the way that we want them to, or when we feel threatened by something or someone, and the reaction is to literally react and to feel this rage. And the main function of this emotion of anger is destruction. So we will try to see which one of these emotions we have here in the post-its belong to the family of anger. What we will do is basically grab one of these. I said already rage. Rage belongs to the family of anger, so we would move them to the chart. I think we will give maybe, did you all access the Miro board? I see here Costas and myself. Yolanda just sent the link for you to join. Okay, Emmanuel's also here. We're 5 people inside, come on. Let's see if we can get 25 of the 30 participants. Let's work for 3 minutes in grouping all of the words and see which one belong to anger. Okay, welcome Jakub, welcome Spiridon. I don't know if I mispronounced, I'm sorry.
Do we have to sign up to participate?
Not necessary. Are the people who join signing up? I think not.
I think you just have to put your name.
We see already 10 people inside. Okay. So inside of anger, we have already rage, anger, fury, hostility, hatred, very good, violence, ecstasy. Okay, I see people.
Ask me to sign up. I'm sorry for the interruption. Ask me to sign up.
Yeah, actually, me too.
Okay, just a second.
We will change the permission. Let's see.
Try again in the link. The first time asked me also to sign up, but the second one I get without signing up.
Could you try, as George is mentioning, to click again in the link to see if it asks for the signing up?
Okay, that will be the third time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And ask me again to sign up. And if you see the chat, Nikos Mathiodakis also needs to sign up.
But do you see my screen?
Yes, I see.
If you want to just talk and I could move the objects for you while Yolanda tries to see the requirements, the permission. I could be the hands, then you can be the mind. Okay, we have a few cards left. Let's give 1 more minute. Okay. Let's go part by part if you agree. If we can all zoom and go to surprise, that is the one that has less stickers. So in surprise, we have astonishment, we have thrill, perplexed, delight, and confused. So do we agree with all of these words, or would you group some of these emotions into other family? I, for example, would put delight into joy. Delight is this extreme feeling of pleasure when you eat chocolate. For me, for example, I feel delighted to eat chocolate. If you do not agree with any, we can just grab the post-it and change it to the family that you consider it belongs to. Okay. I think we agree with thrill, perplexed, and astonishment. As for confused, I am confused. But let's continue with aversion. With aversion, we see discouragement, disgust, tranquility, and dignity. Okay, these are really contrary from one another. Tranquility or disgust. Okay, I see one changing it. Very good. Self-pity. Okay, so let's start correcting all of this. By definition, surprise, this family, it is very transient and allows us to cognitive approach to know what is happening. When we don't know what's happening, that's when comes the surprise. And the function of this is to have exploration. Some of the words that would belong to this family would be astonishment, as you said before correctly, bewilderment, I don't think we have that in the options, and admiration. We can also say perplexed, thrilled, but not confused. So we would move it to here. Okay, for the family of aversion, the definition of this would be the dislike or disgust towards that which we have in front of us. So disgust, you put it there, very good. Dislike, self-pity. The function of aversion would be the rejection. So this, I don't see the one here, but I think this discouragement, very good. Disgust, dislike. We will move forward to the one here that is joy. What does joy really mean? It belongs to the same family as happiness. Joy, some of the words that could identify with this would be tranquility, contentment, beatitude, delight, as I said before, amusement, when you're feeling really entertained and amused by something or someone. The dignity would go here at joy, and the sensual pleasure as well as thrill, rapture, gratification, euphoria, wismic, ecstasy. So it was pretty good, the one here, enjoy. I will move thrill to here, but pretty good with recognizing the joy. As then we already did fear, but let's see if we have anything else. We have in fear the anxiety, apprehension, fear, worry, concern. Dismay can also be an emotion in the family of anger. Uneasiness, uncertainty, nervousness can also be due to anger or tied to anger, anguish, fright, and terror. In some terrible cases and psychopathological anger. Oh no, I was reading the wrong ones. Why did no one say anything? I'm so sorry. So the ones that I was saying before was from fear in here, and you got them right. The anguish, resentment, panic, phobia, uncertainty. Very good. And we will move forward to the last one, shame. And in shame, we will find that it belongs to the family of guilt, as you mentioned there, perplexity, dismay, remorse, humiliation, very good, grief, and sorrow. And the function of shame would be to correct one behavior from the other. So moving forward from the mirror, we will go into the PowerPoint once again. Okay, let's see. Okay, some tech problems here. Very good. Okay, so these were the emotions, as you already know already. We saw it here. We have anger, that the main function would be distraction, the sadness, that is reintegration. For fear, the function would be the protection. Joy, some may argue that is reproduction. For surprise, exploration. Aversion is rejection, and shame would be correction. On the work on this functions and what are these used for began with Charles Darwin. Do you know Charles Darwin? Most likely, yes. We have been trying to understand our emotions for that long. At that time, they already found out that emotions help animals to adapt to the environment, and therefore they're candidates for natural selection. So emotions have three main functions that make them useful and beneficial. We have the adaptive function, the social function, and the motivational function. As you may already infer from these names, the adaptive function is the most important one. It prepares us to carry out in the behavior that it's required for the situation and the environment. It mobilizes the resources and energy necessary for it and directs the behavior towards a specific objective. Why is it the most important one? We can see it very clearly with fear. For example, when we feel fear from a lion coming to attack to us, this emotion's main objective is to make us run, for example, in the other direction of the lion. That if we don't feel that fear, probably we can sit and just stand by and wait till the lion comes eat us. So this emotion protects us from that. Then we have the social function that it allows us to other people and us to predict the behavior that derives from this expression. It has a special relevance in interpersonal relationships. It invites and makes it very easy to have social interaction, to control the behavior of others, to improve the communication, to promote social behaviors. You may already know the importance of being an emotional and communicative being for this social interaction. And then the motivational function, we might see that the emotions have a bidirectional and intimate relationships between emotion and motivation in such way that all behavior produces an emotion. And when I study, I feel bored, or when I study, I feel super happy and motivated. But emotions can also give rise to behaviors that are directed towards a certain objective. If I am feeling really excited or really thrilled, my body is directing me to a certain behavior or action. Maybe I go work out, maybe I go to have a swim at the beach, depending on what you like to do. Moreover, the two main components of a motivated behavior are present in this direction. We have this relationship, we have direction and intensity. So we already have covered a little bit about the emotions, what they're used for, the dimensions, and the types. But what is emotional intelligence? Oh, we came here for the emotional management. We already have heard the emotional intelligence topic, right? It can be defined, or, well, I may ask, do you know what emotional intelligence is? Would you like to interrupt me from my rant?
It is the control and the recognition of the emotion, the control of your emotion and the recognition of the other's emotion in order to adapt and show empathy, to the situation. I think that this is it, and it's very important. I was in a discussion that people, they used to say that they appreciate a lot, the EQ more than the IQ. So right now, the EQ, the emotional intelligence, is much more important than the IQ. because EQ affects the collaboration, affects, you know, the relationships with the team, with yourself. If you can control your, for example, my EQ is very low. I don't know about the IQ, but my EQ is very low.
We wouldn't say that, Costas.
No, I will say this. I know my weaknesses.
Well, but you got it really good. Actually, almost perfect, I would say, or perfect. The emotional intelligence can be defined as the ability to motivate ourselves and to persevere in spite of possible frustrations, and to control impulses that we may have, to defer gratifications as well, to regulate, as you said, to manage our own moods, our own emotions, to prevent distress from interfering with our rational faculties. And last but not least, it would be the ability to empathize with other people and to trust other people. Other definition of emotional intelligence would be to the ability to understand, manage, and effectively express one's own feelings, as well as engage and navigate successfully with those emotions of others. So it's awareness at itself, awareness and knowledge in how to manage and how to express our own emotions. Some of the qualities first allocated to emotional intelligence are empathy, expression, and understanding of feelings, as well as anger management, interdependence, independence, adaptability, kindness, and we could go on and on and on with most of the things that we all now consider as valuable skills and valuable traits that one person may have. This definition given by Goldman's a pretty noble scientist in this topic, specifically emotional intelligence, is the one that wrote one of the Bibles of this topic. He proposes that emotional intelligence is made by the following components. It would be the emotional self-knowledge, is the knowledge of knowing how to express what we're feeling at any given moment. This implies, of course, knowing, recognizing, and identifying the different emotions, as well as the effects they produce on us. We may know, we have seen, of course, a baby all crying, or not even a baby, but a toddler, that when they are really feeling sleepy or they're feeling hungry, they cry a lot, but they don't know really why they're crying. They still don't have that self-knowledge of their emotions and of their feelings. When we grow up, we develop that emotional self-knowledge, and we continue developing as we continue to grow up. We would have also the emotional self-control. Once we know what we're feeling and we recognize this, this would be the ability to control and manage our impulses adequately, not to just give in. If I'm hungry, I will eat it all. If I am tired, I would just sleep in my desk at work. No, but to have this emotional control. Then one of the components might be the self-motivation. This refers to everything that drives us to achieve our goals together with the appropriate use of our emotions. For example, this can be when we experience a traumatic situation. The resilience that we were discussing in the previous webinar allows us to recover from that situation and continue moving forward in the future, not getting stuck into a negative situation. And then we would have empathy. That would be the ability to respond appropriately to the needs expressed by another person by sharing his or her feelings without the other person's having expressed them in words. We put ourselves in the other person's place and understand their inner world. That's what basically empathy means. It's putting ourselves in the other person's shoes. And the final but not least, the interpersonal relationships. That is the ability to relate effectively with other people. So this would compose of the emotional intelligence, to know what we feel, to control what we feel, to be able to motivate ourselves despite these emotions controlling our impulses, and act according to objectives. Then to empathize with other people, and to be able to relate effectively with other people. So we have something interpersonal and intrapersonal parts and components of this emotional intelligence. As we were discussing previously, nowadays, and as Costas mentioned, emotional intelligence is really, really valued in work life, student life, friendship life, everything. Even there was a study guided by Talent Smart, and they tested emotional intelligence alongside other 33 important workplace skills. Let's say leadership, proactivity, in the teamwork, and then emotional intelligence, and found out that emotional intelligence is the strongest predictor of performance, explaining that a full 58% of success in all types of jobs. It doesn't matter what type of job these people interviewed were developing. The higher the emotion and intelligence they had, the higher success rates in everything they did. So your emotional intelligence is the foundation for a host of critical skills. It impacts most everything you say and do each day. And emotional intelligence is the single biggest predictor of performance in the workplace and the strongest driver of leadership and personal excellence. This survey, also held by Talent Smart, showed that 90% of the high performance at the workplace possess high EQ, not IQ, but EQ, the emotional one, while 80% of the low performance had a low EQ. So this would show how directed this emotional intelligence and success and productivity and efficiency and everything. So let's see what we can look into this further with emotional intelligence. We have that this matters as well. I think you can say this to me. Why does emotional intelligence matters in real life? In what aspect do you think it impacts? You have it here as well.
I mean, can I speak?
Please do.
Okay. I'm not very polite. I should do this, I think. I should raise my hand first, and then you can say, Costas, you can speak. I mean, the management of the emotions plays, an extremely role, not only in the workspace, but also in the family, within ourselves. So starting from ourselves provides balance and provides also the right decision making. I mean, the emotion in some cases, speaking for ourselves, should not play a role at all regarding the decision making. This is my opinion. The emotion should be excluded. You should use your critical thinking than the creative thinking. The creative thinking has emotions within it. So regarding ourselves, provides balance, right decision making. Regarding now our collaboration, it builds trust because the other person is not afraid to speak to you, is feeling that you are close to him or to her. This means also in your family issues that you are avoiding any kind of conflict situations. Also, it's very important because by controlling your emotion, or if you're not controlling your emotion, but also be able to recognize the other one's person emotion in negotiations plays an important role because you are reading and at the same time you are not revealing things, and the people, they trust you. So and also you are a good leader. I think that you're an excellent leader if your emotional management is like excellent. And also it reveals that you have a good time management because stress is not there, or you are hiding, or you are controlling your stress, in an excellent way. This is just some random thoughts that I had. But, for me as an ex-athlete, also controlling your emotion is like very crucial. I mean, in some situations when you're celebrating and when you have a team success, of course, the emotion should be over there. Eh? You should be human, but when, the decision should be made, sometimes the emotion should be out. Or, yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you. So the critical thinking we were discussing last webinar should be at point every important decision rather than the emotions, you think, or maybe keeping a balance between those two. Okay. Does anyone agree? Does anyone say the thing that's not the right thing? Anyone wants to defy this opinion?
Something to add that, this emotional management has also comes as a function of the culture, because there are some cultures that they are too expressive, so the emotions are very, very easy. And there are some cultures, that they are like, you cannot see any emotions. So it's not only the personal attitude, but also it's a culture that cultivates and facilitates the management of the emotion. Yeah, I will give you an example. If you speak, for example, with a Scandinavian guy, with all the respect to Scandinavians, if we have here, they appear that they are very flat to the emotions. But this is your emotional intelligence in order to realize that this is not a problem, but because of his culture or of her culture, this is the way that they communicate. For example, if you, on the other hand, if you see Italians starting to do this, how is the bike? The bike's very big, you know that. So the emotion also comes as a part of the culture. How much do they control it? But from the other hand, it's your emotional intelligence how to realize that this is a problem, this is not a problem, in collaboration with the cultural intelligence, because also we have the cultural intelligence. And this is the amazing things about the soft skills. It's like a family. It's like an interlinked family. You cannot be good in time management and at the same time you are stressed or you cannot control your emotions. These are very much linked. So it's like you can start with one soft skills and you can describe all the soft skills.
I was just about to say the same because when developing this lesson, a lot of things about active listening were mentioned. In order to be emotional intelligence or to be considered as that, mainly what you need to do is to be actively listening to the other people and to be paying attention to what's happening all around you and continuing accordingly and knowing how to manage these emotions with the information you have in hand. It's indeed like that. Every soft skill, it's a chain, one after the other. Does anyone have any other opinion that would like to share?
Let's check who has different opinion. Let's check. This is emotion bullying. No.
We are covered. We are covered.
Okay. So we have talked about emotions and emotional intelligence, but this lesson was about emotional management. So what about it? We can say that emotion management is defined as a set of physiological processes that enable people to identify each of our emotions. It's not a matter of knowing how to control them completely, but of recognizing them and of knowing how to adjust them for our mental stability. So as we said before, recognize, control, and to act accordingly, to motivate, to empathize, and to have interpersonal relationships. These two authors, Monhas and Davidson, were commenting on the need of emotion management to be taught to children in every academic content possible, because it is the need of the human beings to interact with people. It's something, we're social human beings and we need to interact. Therefore, we need to learn as well about emotions and about how to manage them. So these are also two other authors that are saying that teaching social and emotional skills to children since they're 5 years old make them more civic-minded and better students. We normally learn and study and continue growing in technology, in mathematics, in literature, in every topic possible. And what we're trying here to do with the Acme project and with this soft skills webinars that you continuously do at the HMU is to also grow in this aspect of our lives. Yes, Costas?
Yeah, let me, regarding this, until we are 5 years old, the new studies, because they presented in a meeting that I was until yesterday, they presented a study that, the human brain and the attitude that we develop is up to 2 years old. So whatever is happening is up to 2 years old, and then there is a plateau. There is a very recent survey from Harvard. So it's like 2 years old regarding our attitude and the way that probably we are going to socially and emotionally be developed. But this is just like for your information.
So to start at 5, it's too late. We should start at 2.
I think that we are already in plateau. I mean, if I remember well, what did I say? But this is probably, an information that, they showed to us in this meeting, because we are academics and we should know until when, everything is shaped.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. well, we should be teaching emotions since really early then. So yes, this is emotion management. So what is it for? These emotions help us in our life when making decisions and adapting to the reality in which we live, whether they're positive or negatives. The way in which we all experience emotions is personal and unique, and we can have some certain path and certain yes, knowledge about it, but it's different from people to people. However, some of the aspects that influence this proper management of emotions is to orient one's action toward long-term objectives. As we said before, this is the motivation aspect. If one does not learn to manage emotions, we will always be putting one's most primary impulses first. If I know I have to study, but I'm hungry right now, I will postpone the studying and then eat. But if first is eating, then it's going to the bathroom, then it's sleeping, and we will postpone these long-term objectives all the time. And by knowing how to manage them, the influence of these primary impulses is compensated with sources of motivation related to achieving medium and long-term goals, and not so short terms, as I was saying. Then we can say that this emotion management helps us to learn from our mistakes and going into memories that we try to avoid in order not to feel bad, but from a perspective based on accepting our imperfections so that we can learn from what we did to do totally right. And after, we can say that emotion management also helps us to empathize, as we were saying before. Knowing how to manage them helps us to be more sensitive to the emotional states that other people show us, and in turn, to learn to integrate these emotional states in our own way of thinking and acting. To be empathetic can help us to be not only kinder, but to have more adequate responses to what other people might be feeling or thinking or even acting upon on. In this way, we can approach positions even with people with whom we have nothing in common. Maybe I don't know anything from one of George here, but if I see that your face a little scrunched up, that you're not really understanding, if I know how to manage this emotion that you're showing to me, I could be able maybe to change the things that I'm saying and to be more emotionally intelligent just by the way you're looking at me right now. And then we can say additionally that emotional management can always influence our ability to focus on the really important tasks without paying attention to distractions so much. I'm really bad at this one. I always get distracted by many things, but if I practice and improve this emotional management part of myself, the prioritizing the most important stuff, the focusing on the long term could help me focus on important things. It also might help us to avoid unnecessary confrontations. If we have a positive and constructive mindset, we can approach other people's different points of view by putting ourselves in the other person's place, not just as we were saying in last webinar, we were speaking about when we were listening to a lecture and we were just trying to find the mistake that the person speaking was into the lecture. If we just try to find the mistake, it does not contribute to what we're doing. And emotional intelligence might help us avoid this unnecessary confrontation and focus on the things that are really important in the message behind the lecture of these people. And furthermore, if we are able to identify the emotions that invade us, if I'm able to say I'm really angry about this person talking this way to me, there's a good chance that I will also be able to transmit that to them in an attitude and word that is accurate. With this, we can achieve much more successful personal and social and work relationships, thus avoiding the emergence of conflicts. If I know that if Yolanda speaks to me in a certain tone of voice and that it really angers me, if I recognize that emotion of myself, I will be able to communicate it to her in an adequate way and say, I don't like this way in which you're speaking to me, but in a calm situation, and avoid the conflicts of us just exploding and creating a really big problem here at EVM. Yes. So having discussed what emotion management is and what it can be useful for, it's important to consider the benefits that it has and also the consequences that it has, the poor emotional management. Among the benefits of the proper emotional management, we have that the prevention of problematic ways of managing stress or anxiety. For example, some people when feel really stressed or have a deadline that is really important, usually tend to go maybe to alcohol or cigarettes, tobacco, maybe even drugs, or eating without having any hunger, or the other way around, not eating at all during the whole day. So if we do not know how to manage our emotions, we may fall into this path that it might not be the best option. So let's learn how to do it correctly so we have a better health at the end. Other than that would be the easiness to adapt behavior depending on the emotional state of the people with whom you socialize, right? And also the graded predisposition to focus on the tasks that need to be done. We also said that before. No to distractions, yes to focus on the task, and yes to prioritizing the important things over the not so important things. Other benefits might be the maintaining of a balanced self-esteem. We all know that when we feel that we're focused, that we're happy, that we're doing what we need to do, we feel good about ourselves and what we are doing. Also, to detect and identify emotions and know how to channel them, it's a great benefit, and it helps us with our interpersonal skills. And finally, the ability to take advantage of the motivational component of emotions to use them to our advantage. This is all to our advantage and to seek the best outcome for us in every situation. But if we discussed about the consequences of poor emotional management, because we hear all the good one, but what if we don't do the things as we were supposed to do? If one time things happen like this, we might have one conflict, but it's not like the end of the world and we will not die from this. But persistent lack of emotional control in different areas of a person's life can have a negative consequence on mental health. Some of the consequences experienced by people with lack of emotional self-control are usually phobias and fears as a consequence of the constant state of alarm that we're already always scared and afraid and always looking to see where the surprise is coming from, in which people leave or see any situation or comment as threat. We always are seeking to see where's the threat coming from. We can also, yes?
Clementina, what is the difference between phobias and fears?
I would say we will have to look for the definition correct, but phobias would be like a persistent fear and an extreme fear. I would say it depends on the intensity of the emotion. Phobia would have to be diagnosed by a psychologist if I understand correctly.
Correct. I think that you are correct. And fear is something very instantly, no? Phobia is, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. Good. Then other consequence can be depression and feelings of helplessness and hopelessness to the feeling of continually struggling with emotions. Of course, these are consequences of persistent poor emotional management. It doesn't mean that if you have one episode of rage or of extreme sadness, you would not be depressed, of course. These are some things to have in mind in order to let's continue working with our emotion management. Other things can be the feelings of guilt for any decision and situation that can be wrong or can be wrong that could be identified by us. Also, we could have accumulated anger and resentment towards the people around us, towards ourselves, towards our job or studies. If we do not do anything about these feelings and we persistently have this bad management of emotions, we could feel this resentment that could manifest in every aspect of our lives. And finally, this is not usually seen, but also perfectionism and self-demanding, trying to do everything perfect in order to prevent mistakes. This underlines a poor emotional management because it can, not always, but it can be showcasing fear of rejection and fear of not doing everything the most correct way, Fear of failure could be other kind of showing signs behind this. These are maybes, of course, as I said before, this is persistent consequence of persistent poor emotional management. It's important to say that each person experiences emotions in a different way. And the important thing is to be able to combat the negative consequences of the lack of emotional control and to learn to manage our emotions accordingly and to recognize them and to prioritize what we consider important for ourselves and to work according to that. As Costa said before, emotional intelligence is used in many fields. We can say sports, education, business, the clinical, psychotherapeutical fields, everything we can think of in the family, in the friendship, it can be improved our performance and our productivity if we improve our emotional management, because it improves our time management, our active listening, our teamwork, our leadership, and you can keep counting. When we are able to know ourselves and to work accordingly, it shows. Therefore, knowing how to improve our emotional control in a practical way, it's essential if we want to increase our performance, to make the right decisions, and to achieve the desired results. In addition, it can help us to have a better quality of life. Following this lecture, we will deepen in 6 keys proposed by author Preston Nee to increase your emotional intelligence with references from his books on how to let go of negative thoughts and emotions and are you highly sensitive. I would like to put one of this. I was reading a book and I like this phrase. It says, everything thinks about changing the world. However, few people tend to think in changing themselves. We can start changing the world and changing the way we do stuff and changing the way we grow, we learn, and we teach other things. This is by Lev Tolstoy. And in order to do that, we will continue with these practical skills. So, as I said before, they're proposed by author Preston Nee, and these books that I highlight here. The first one would be the ability to reduce negative emotions. Perhaps an aspect of intelligence, emotional intelligence, more important, it would be our ability to effectively manage our own negative emotions so they don't overwhelm us and affect us and our judgment. So in order to change the way we feel about a situation, we must first change the way in which we think about it. There are just 2 examples, and I would like to see if you can infer anything from what it says here. From reducing negative personalization, what would this refer to?
I will say that everything, to blame yourself, to reduce negative emotions, reducing negative person. I mean, anything bad starts from yourself. I mean, sometimes we used to say, I mean, yes, I mean, too pessimistic, yes. Self-esteem, you know, as you know, Western Galilee, Samia says.
Yeah, probably the thinking of everything is with a negative attitude.
Very good. I would follow with an example. Let's say if I write an email to you, George, and you do not answer me for 2 weeks, and me just being, George hates me, he does not want to work with me, he's just over this project. And then at the end, maybe you're on vacations or maybe you are in the hospital, but I am negatively personalizing you. I don't know if we can say it that way, but reducing this kind of perspective and just understanding that most of the times people, when they act, they're responding to their own situation, and not always they have to do something with ourselves. Maybe, George, you do not hate me, or maybe you do, but if I change the way of seeing things, it helps with my improvement of emotional intelligence.
But also starts, you know, it's the reverse. Probably you will say, did I do something wrong? Or probably, you know, and then you are starting, you know, this mind trapping and around you and around the other one, no?
It does not end.
Like you take it personally, and there's also like this sentence that I love, that it's like, don't take life too seriously. Like, I mean, I love that one, because if you take everything too seriously, you tend to take everything personally, like everything is for you. it's meant for you. So like, I love that sentence too. Like, don't take life too seriously. Like, yeah, don't take it personal.
That's the rest, yes, synthesis of everything. And then the second tip to reduce the negative emotions could be to reduce the fear of rejection. And this, to put an example, would be maybe if I apply, or if any of you were applying to any other job, if you apply to just one other job, the fear of rejection is super, super big to say, if I don't get accepted, I will die. But by reducing the fear of rejection, by maybe applying to different programs, to different jobs, this fear of being rejected is reduced, or maybe increased if you really have this anxiety and fear of being rejected, but it can also be practiced and improved. So yes, it's to identify a viable plan B, plan C, plan D, and saying, what's the worst thing that can happen? I have 10 plans.
Or sometimes you can be proactive. You can categorize the things that you from your experience, you think that is going to generate negative emotions. And before, these negative emotions will happen, or before you are going to experience this situation, you have trained yourself to deal with these feelings and overcome them. It's like just like training in basketball. You are doing training and you are practicing in order to challenge yourself with situations that probably they will happen. But this is why you are trained, if they will happen, to react. So I will say one of the biggest, advice that I'm giving to myself and, to anyone is just like, to try to read yourself or read the situation and then keep this in your mind in the next case to be able to manage your feelings and manage the others, because of a prior experience. So to be proactive, like to move on these things.
That's good. Maybe stop being so reactive and being more proactive, already knowing how you react.
Definitely, you should be more. You should be more proactive, because if you are more proactive in anything, you control the things better than to wait for the situation to come and face it.
That's it.
And I think also for me, like personally, it works like visualization. Also in sports or at work, any situation, if you visualize yourself in the different scenarios that can happen, then some of them probably are going to happen if you know what you're thinking about. And that helps you also, like, I don't know, in sports, in my case, in free diving, when I'm just visualizing like how deep I want to go. So if I just visualize, I know that nothing bad is going to happen to me. So that reduces anxiety a lot, and that helps me know what's going to happen. So the anticipation and visualization, I think it can help also to reduce those negative emotions that you can have in any specific situation. So yeah.
Very good. Thank you all for your input. We can follow with the practical tips with the second one. That would be the ability to stay cool and to manage stress. Most of the times when we experience some stressful situations, the difference between one and another can be being assertive, as Costas was saying, versus being reactive. So being poised versus being frazzled. When under pressure, the most important thing to keep in mind is to keep the cool, to be relaxed and to be able to think with a cool mind instead of a heated one, all stressed out, or maybe all filled with anxiety. So 2 tips, or I may say 3, when managing a lot of stress, a really important deadline would be to take a break. When we feel nervous and anxious, it might be a good idea to maybe put cold water in our face, to take a shower, to take some fresh air, and cool the temperature literally can help us take a decision based with a cooler mindset and reduce our anxiety level. Other might be to avoid caffeinated beverages. People used to love coffee. I love coffee when I have really important deadlines, but I really know when I start to shake like this that maybe the coffee wasn't a good option, not a good decision. So it can also higher our anxiety levels. So during this stressful periods of time, it might be a good option to avoid this. And a third one would be if you feel fearful, depressed, or discouraged to try intensive aerobics exercises that make our blood flow throughout our body, or oxygen go to our brain and energize ourselves, because the way that we use our body affects greatly the way we feel. As the saying goes, the motion dictates emotion. So as we experience the vitality of our body, our confidence will also grow accordingly. This is the second one, so we should relax like the cat's doing in this picture. As for the third one, would be the ability to be assertive and to express difficult emotions when necessary. In this, we would like to present to you the XYC technique. What it means, the XYC is basically what psychologists used to say in therapy, in couples and families and things when there are two parties in a conflict. It's most useful to say, I feel X when you do Y in situation Z. For example, there are times in our lives when it's important to set boundaries appropriately so people know where we stand, what we think, and what we do not want. These can include exercising our right to disagree, to say, I do not agree with what you're saying. I do not like this direction this conversation is going, without being disagreeable. Saying no without feeling guilty, and setting our own priorities, getting what we paid for, and protecting ourselves from dearness of harms. The typical situation might be when we go to a restaurant and we order one dish that we really like, but when the dish arrives to the table, it's something completely different from what the picture was showing or from what the waiter said to you. It's difficult to say to the waiter that you did not order to this, because we're not yet masters of this emotional intelligence and assertiveness. If we practice this, we will be able to say, I'm so sorry, but I feel this plate of food is not what I asked for. I would like for it to be changed, or for it to be, yes, for it to be changed, basically. If you don't order for that dish, but it can have many representations. We could also say that I feel strongly that I should receive recognition from the company based on my contributions. You're asking for a raise in your salary. It's also a difficult thing to say, but if you deserve it and if you consider it, the ability to be assertive is really a skill, and it is recommended to use this XYC technique in order for it to be more easy for us to say the difficult stuff. Do you agree? Do these situations are difficult for you? Have you asked for a raise before, for example? Or do you have complications when asking for the waiter to change your dish? Very good. We have really emotionally intelligent people then. Okay, so the next one would be the ability to stay proactive and not reactive in the face of a difficult person. So most of us have encountered unreasonable people in our lives that we may be stuck with a difficult person at a job or at universities. And it's easy to let that person make us uncomfortable and to affect us and ruin our days. So some of the keys to staying proactive in such situations would be to take a break again and to rethink a better way of communicating the issue, because most of the times it's not adequate to just roll your eyes and say, wow, you should stop talking. It's not the most assertive way to direct to the other people. And the other one would be to try to be empathetic, to try to think, as we said before, that most of the times when people act, they do not respond to ourselves, but to their own situation and what is happening behind their lives. For example, if I'm having a problem with my boss, I might say, like, my boss is really demanding. It must not be easy to have such high expectations based on my performance by management, or something like that. It can be in every situations. The point is to remind yourself that people do what they do because of their own issues. As long as we're being reasonable and considerate, difficult behaviors from others say a lot more about them than they do about us. Any question, comments? Very good, we move forward. Then we have the ability to bounce back from adversity. And in here, we have this is a phrase from Michael Jordan. He mentioned, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. So the ability to come back from mistakes and from failure and from things that do not go so well is also something really, really valuable and something that makes us grow rather than push us down. To miss it also means to learn.
And this is called also resilience. This is another soft skill. Like how, and one expression about this is like to learn to come back from fallback. So this is very important. It has been started, from sports, and how the NBA players, that they were young people, that they are billionaires, and they cost a lot of money, they have injuries, how to learn them, do not feel disappointment, how to work with themselves by expressing mindfulness, and also have the network, and also control their emotions, as Clementina has mentioned. There is another lecture that probably we will do, or next semester, that we are running again, another circle of this kind of course, like resilience, very important for the students. Like, for example, after you fail in an exam or after you fail in an experiment, like how you should work. There are some tips. Very important is mindfulness, like to be focused on the moment. Another thing is like to control your emotions, do not overtake you. And this helps you by networking, by your friends, by your family, by your wife, your boyfriend, or whatever you have, your pet, or your sports, if you would like to go out. So this is very important to read about resilience, how to learn from fall back to come back, as Michael Jordan has done. And I agree with Clementina. You are learning only by mistakes. You cannot learn without doing mistakes. And this comes back to another thing that Clementina has mentioned, like the fear of failure. I mean, it's nice to fail, because when you fail, you learn. When you fail, you learn. Not when you succeed, or when you are successful, you are not learning. Sometimes you are fooling yourself. But when you fail, you learn, definitely. So you should not have the fear of the failure. You should ask questions. You should dare to say your opinion. And of course, you should learn by mistakes. I'm not telling you to do mistakes all the time, but fail. Fail is not a bad thing.
It's good. I think the bad thing about failing is not questioning why you failed, what you could have done better, not to change it because you cannot change it, but to do better because the situation will repeat. You will have another opportunity.
And all the inferiority feelings that we have, and we demonstrate, all of us, because there is no exclusion, is because of this, the level of the fear to fail. If you are comfortable, the level to fear to fail is less, but if your level of fear is high, you have all these insecurities and all these inferiority complexes that all of us we have demonstrated. So whenever you are going to demonstrate these inferior complexities, think, of why you are feeling this.
Exactly like this. And also, other than Michael Jordan, I found one fact about Abraham Lincoln, is that before becoming the president of the United States, he actually lost 8 elections. He failed twice in business, and he even suffered a nervous breakdown before becoming the United States president. So there we have another example of how, when you come back from it.
Steve Jobs is another example. When he moved, Steve Jobs was fired by Apple, by a guy that he was a manager in Pepsi, that, Steve Jobs has hired him. And then he moved to this kind of cartoon industry, and he failed. And then he came back. He was not disappointed. He did not feel any disappointment because he was believing on what he was doing. So he came back to Apple in order, to make the Apple what it is now. So, but these are extreme examples, Michael Jordan, Steve Jobs. But, see in your daily life, whenever you are persisting in something, whenever you have a belief on what you would like to do, you are going to achieve it through the failures, because failures is like a feedback. This is agile, no? Agile
Yes.
is exactly this. You are doing small steps, feedback because you have a challenge or a failure, feedback in order to correct and move ahead. This is Acme, no?
Exactly this. Never could have said it better. Ah. And finally, other tip on how to improve emotional intelligence would be the ability to express intimate emotions in close and personal relationships. We could do this with, well, psychologist John Gottman calls the expression of intimate emotions bidding. Bidding can be any method of positive connection between two people desiring a close relationship. It can be a friendship, it can be mother and daughter, father and, well, brothers even, or even a romantic relationship. And for example, we can have these three types of bidding. It can be verbal, body language, and behavioral. The verbal bidding can be just the one in the picture. It's how are you doing? How are you feeling? I love you. I appreciate you. I like it when we talk like this. It's words of appreciation to another person that make us feel more connected and yes, and empathizing and having this relationship with interpersonal between two people. We can have also the body language bidding that we were discussing also in the other lecture about the active listening. With the body language, we can express many things. We can also express connection between two people, and we can have it by positive eye contact, by hugging, by smiling, a little pat in the elbow or the arm around the shoulder. And this shows support. This shows that you care and that you are actively listening to the other person. This can help and your emotional perspective of what the other person is receiving for you, and also in the rapport between these two people. And finally, we have the behavioral bidding that is offering maybe food or beverage or a personalized card or a thoughtful gift to make sure the other person knows that you're there, that you care, and that you're expressing intimate emotions. So this is often, depending on the kind of people you are, it can be also really difficult. But well, these are simple steps that can make you more connected to another person and more connected to yourself, because it requires also for you to recognize your emotions, to control them, and to be able to act accordingly. This Dr. Gottman's research reveals that close and healthy relationships bid with each other in ways large and small, up to 100 times each day. So you can have it all the ones you like. And consistent and constant bidding is crucial in the maintenance and development of close personal relationships. To finish this emotional lecture, we're almost done. I would say that emotional intelligence accounts for, well, no, the summary here, we have gone through the definition and the dimensions of emotions, the four components, what are the primary emotions, the respective families, the functions of emotion, the adaptive, the social, we got them all, the relationship between emotional intelligence and personal and work life. We talked about emotional management, what is it useful, the benefits and the consequences, and finally the tips on how to improve our emotional intelligence. This phrase, I liked it very much. It says, how we feel can condition how we think. Therefore, what we do, and ultimately what we practice. So if we are what we practice, when we learn how to manage our emotions properly and own them instead of the emotions owning us, we can better define who we are and who we want to be. So our emotions, our understanding of them, and our management of our emotions can determine and can really portray who we are and who we really want to be, because we're acting accordingly to what we think is important for us and what we value. This is a disclaimer that, of course, this whole lecture is the result of the compilation of certain studies. And I would like to also finish. I didn't put it in the presentation, but Costas mentioned before something about the leaders and emotional intelligence. And to finish just my presentation here, I also found one study that says that emotional intelligence accounted for 85 or 90% of the difference between outstanding leaders and their more average peers. So when practicing leadership, it is really crucial to practice and to improve on our emotional intelligence skills in order to be other than the average, to be outstanding if we would like to be like that. At the end, it's all how we want to live our lives. And I hope that we all live it in a really happy way. So thank you very much for paying attention this whole 2 hours. And do you have any questions? Would you like to comment further? Do you have any special tactics on how to improve your emotional management?
Thank you, Clementina, for this nice presentation. We are, please share this presentation with us. I suspect that you are going to share it in the Acme shared file, but I need to share it also with the students. So please send it to me as well. Because I was thinking of this, what did you answer? What did you ask the students right now? So not only to the students, to our colleagues as well. I will say that, you know, the best way in order to control your emotions is like to think of yourself when they were, what were the situations that you felt uncomfortable regarding your emotions, either you are unpolite or you are feeling these inferior complexities, in order to train yourself, and the next time do not feel the same and be proactive and correct this feeling. And, you know, sometimes the emotions are not just, they're not coming just as a general attitude, but probably, you know, it differs from person to person, as you mentioned in your presentation. In my case, I know people that when I interact with them, I'm getting, my nerves are getting, or my temper, is raising. This is bad. This is my mistake. And now, I depend, I regulate myself before I will meet them in order to keep my temper correct. But proactive, I think, is the best way for anyone to control and also read the emotion of the others. And depends on the situation. In some situations, you should show feelings. For the boys, how are you going to flirt if you are not showing feelings? No. But in professional way, sometimes the decision making, you should not have feelings. Sometimes I used to say, like a lot of people say this, that when you decide, there are no friendships, there are no relations. It's just like, to take the correct decision, the best one. When you select people, you not select your friends. You select the best ones. Even probably, in some cases, probably they are your friends. But this is, like the feeling sometimes, or in basketball or in sports, they used to say like cold, hard, warm brain. But this is like, just to answer. Proactive, proactive, and experience is like, and to learn by your mistakes. Be brave to say that, this was my mistake.
I think for me, Costas, to continue what you say is to have to be introspective and retrospective of what you do. Because in order to be proactive, you have to understand how do you react to certain situations and why. I think it would be my mistake, maybe not to sit and take time to think of my actions and reactions in order to change the future ones.
And this requires self and environmental awareness, self-awareness and environmental awareness. This has also to do with the feeling management, with the emotion management. So as all the soft skills, you can see how many times did we discuss about creative thinking, collaborative thinking. What else did you say? I try to remember your expressions. Leadership. You can see, and we were talking about emotion, IQ, resilience. You can see that, it's not that you have one soft skills. In order to be successful, like a professional, scientist, family man, I don't know, basketball player, cyclist, as George, like as I can see now my colleagues, like Petrakis, like, computer scientist. You need to have everything. Like, I can see here Yorgos Mesarchakis, military officer, or George Sabrinidis in the lab. You need to have everything. I mean, you cannot lack something. But this is the beauty about the soft skills, that you can develop them, learning by your mistakes. And that's why it's Acme, or, any agile methodologies in life.
That's it. And in order for us to do a retrospective, Costas, I will send the form of the evaluation of this lecture. If you could please leave your feedback and review we would really like to see your opinions, and we will improve for the next one.
I will say the students, please do it. No, the students, all of us were students, like our colleagues here, to do the evaluation now, because if you are going to procrastinate, it will never happen. And you can see, like in Canarias, they still have summer. Or everyone's like with t-shirt. I can see people running at the background with a t-shirt. It's like amazing.
Yes. Hopefully you will be able to come here soon.
As soon.
Costas, the date there is August the 247.
But in Hania, you have a really nice weather too, I guess. In September, it was summer.
Now it was, it is like winter. It's like rainy and windy. And there's my friend and colleague, Nicolas Petraisen. Thank you very much. Very attractive presentation. I think that he's very much affected by the attractive, presenters. It was a very nice presentation. This is like how do you translate the English sometimes?
I mean it, attractive presentation.
Oh, you don't control your emotions in this case.
Costas, I have to review the whole presentation because I had a lot of words that it was not known by me in English. I'd like to explain me what do you mean about proactive? You mean preventive act?
No, I mean, Nikos, it's like when you experience something, you evaluate the situation that you are feeling uncomfortable. And then the next time that a same or a similar situation will approach you, you can read and you can prepare yourself. Do not react the same way that you have reacted before, in order to not feel, do not have, negative results. For example, I will give you an example. When you play tennis, preactive, because you train yourself and you simulate the situation before the situation will happen. For example, in tennis, I will give you an example. Probably in tennis, as I can see, you are not so fast. So what are you doing? You are trained yourself in technique, in the skills, in order to prevent a situation that it will force you to run up and down. So you are simulating this situation to your mind, and before it happens, you can recognize that myself, when we play tennis, I try to run you, and you are controlling your game in a different way.
I think this is named preactive, not proactive.
Anyhow, it's like preactive or proactive. I think it's proactive, but I don't know. Probably it's preactive. But did you understand what do I mean?
Yes.
Yes.
No,
so
I thought that it was something different.
No, probably I'm wrong. Probably it's preactive. I don't know why I say proactive. Probably I have read something. That's why I say proactive, but it's the same. We are talking the same thing.
Okay.
It's like human behavior. You can see it's like machine learning. This is machine learning. You are placing data in order the machine to learn in the future to react appropriately. Properly. I'm sorry, I'm tired.
Okay.
So I guess we have all finished the survey. Good?
I think so. I don't know. Elias Plesas, did you finish the survey?
No, I was hearing you. I would like to tell something. I will make the survey.
Okay, please, Elias.
As an Air Force officer, I would like to mention that all this that we have done until now, all these soft skills, have how to say in English,
application. A real life application.
Yes, a real life application. And I'm speaking about the Air Force. Okay, it's really impressive.
I have to say that, by engaging with fighter pilots in Hania, I can see that they can control very well their feelings. And I think that this comes, from, the situations that they face under pressure in order to be able to take the right decisions. That's why decision making, especially the critical thinking part, is very important to isolate your feelings.
Yeah, yes, and also the thing that you mentioned before, we call it situational awareness, SA, we called it.
Yes, exactly. Environment. I said it before, environmental awareness,
yes, yes.
but it's the
We
same.
call it, yes.
Yeah. In security as well, this is very important when you are doing, interviews for security or when you are checking things. This is like the feelings. Is like a traitor or it's like manage you to infiltrate or, do anything you wish to do.
So now we complete the survey.
Okay, I mean, you can continue the survey beyond this session. I think that we should stop this session here. I don't know. I have to check the program. I think that we have our next session will be on Monday. We have here Elena Mizrahi is a professor, a trainer from Israel. I don't know, Elena, are we going to have a session on Monday? I think yes. If I remember well, the program that she has sent it to me. Elena, are you with us?
Yes, Elena teaches, I'm Samia. Elena teaches on Mondays.
On Monday, 2 to 3:30, we're going to continue.
Yes.
I will be there. I hope that, this slot is free. I don't have any other meetings or other obligations. But let's renew our meeting on Monday at 2 o'clock with Elena's Mizrahi sessions. Okay? And I don't know about Acme. Do we have another session next Wednesday? I have to check, the program. No, it's Christmas, no?
We have them, yes.
Yeah. It's a Felizas. How do you say in Spain?
Navidad.
Navidad, yeah.
All right. Navidad.
Exactly.
We see each other tomorrow, Costas.
Tomorrow? What do we have tomorrow?
We have a meeting in the morning. I will send you an email.
I will be in City. I'm traveling. My colleagues, they are going to participate. I have to go to the other side of Crete.
Also, okay. Course at that time, unfortunately.
I will join, Costas.
So George will update. Yeah, George will update us. Okay, guys, have a nice night. Buenas noches. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias to Clementina and Yolanda. Good luck to Argentina for the Mundial.
Thank you very much to you.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a great week. Thank you.
Everyone.
Do you have a comment?
Bye. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you so
tell
much.
me. Yes,
Thank
tell
you.
me.